I was a nurse, fresh out of my program, and eager to start working. After applying to many different hospitals, I was accepted into one prestigious private hospital, specializing in obstetrics and parental care. The hospital was famous for its surrogacy programs and had a global reputation of delivering the healthiest and genetically superior babies. I was, of course, excited and couldn't wait to see my new hospitals and meet my new coworkers. I arrived at the famous Blessed Wing Hospital at 9 a.m. sharp. I was greeted by several upbeat and cheering nurses and doctors, and my attending was just as wonderful. It didn't take long for me to make friends and fit right in with the routine. I was, of course, restricted from full access to the hospital, seeing as I was new and I needed to earn my privileges. The only thing that struck me as odd is the fact that I never saw any patients coming into the hospital or leaving. What I did see was many happy couples arriving to adopt their newborns. I never saw the surrogates before or after delivery. My job was to tend the newborns and ensure that each baby was taken home by their proper parents. It was a very fulfilling job to work with such small, innocent bundles of life. Each baby was perfectly healthy, and no two babies looked alike. It was as if each baby had been custom designed before birth. I only had one problem with working in the hospital. When I was outside the nursery and in the waiting room, I could hear loud, painful screams of the women in labor. The doctors and nurses did their best to ease the delivering women, but the screams continued. Stranger still, the screams seemed less screams of pain, more like screams of terror. I had to learn to tune off the screams and focus on the miracle that followed. That is, until I heard one woman scream. I will never forget.
Why do you keep doing this to me? Please, I want to leave.
After a few moments of working, I felt confident enough to start asking the oddly absent patients. My questions were met with silence and stern looks from both the doctors and the nurses. Finally, my attendant pulled me outside and told me to stop asking questions and just do my job. There was nothing for me to worry about. The screams of pain and terror continued to ring outside the hallways of the hospital. I found the solace in the nursery where I could tend to the newborns, but the screams would always follow me as I walked through the halls. My first year passed with no incident. I was no longer on restricted access. I could freely roam throughout the entire hospital, but there was no reason for me to wander beyond the nurseries or doctor's lounge. My curiosity, however, got the better of me. Shortly after my 1 year anniversary, I was wandering the halls when I heard the screaming of another woman in labor. But what caught my attention was this was the same woman I heard pleading in the doctor's shortly after I started working. She was delivering a second baby in less than 2 years. This was very risky as a professional surrogate. She should know better than to do this. Again, I heard her screaming in fear and begging the doctor to let her go. Let her go? Was she being hospitalized against her will? I waited 2 more weeks before I finally had the nerve to check out the back rooms of the hospitals. I was on the night shift and with little activity. It was easy for me to slip by unnoticed. I found myself walking down a long hallway with signs pointing in the directions of the numerous delivery rooms as well as the second doctor's lounge. It was then I heard a woman cry out in pain. I had come to recognize that the cry of pain was a woman in deep labor. The odd thing is, I hear a cry from behind the door that labeled Incubators. I didn't see anyone in the maternity wing, so I went into the room to check on her. I wish I hadn't. When I opened the door, what I saw sent a wave of nausea I can still taste to this day. The large room had 24 beds, each holding a woman in different stages of pregnancies. The women were young and from various races. The women were helpless and alone. Tubes and IVs containing nutrients and fluids snaked across the women's mutilated bodies as the only means to keep them alive. One blonde woman, her belly absolutely massive in comparison to her mangled body, spotted me and begged me to help her.
Please, you have to get us out of here.
I couldn't speak. I couldn't even move. I just stared at them with my hand over my mouth.
Please,
She shouted out again.
they won't leave us. They won't let us leave. They keep using us, using our bodies.
I backed away from the sight and towards the door. The woman cried out to me, in tears in her eyes.
We can't move. We can't escape. Please, you have to help us.
Fear set in, and I bolted from the room. I returned to the nursery of the hospital and stared in fascination at the innocent newborns that laid before me. This couldn't be the result of such a horrific experiment, could it? My shift came to an end. I couldn't get out of the hospital fast enough. As soon as I pulled into the front of my driveway, I threw up on the grass and began weeping for the poor woman I had abandoned. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing the cries of pain and pleading for their freedom. 2 days later, I returned to the hospital and began my shift. I walked into the nursery. My eye was immediately drawn to a newborn with blonde hair, the same hair with a woman who had begged for my help, and I knew what I saw was true. I lied to my attendant and said I was going home early because I was feeling ill. As soon as I was in the safety of my home, I called the police and told them what I had seen. The police arrived and found the same gruesome sight that I had. The women were taken to a new hospital, and my hospital had been shut down. I breathed a sigh of relief and waited for the story to break out in the news. But no story aired. There was no mention of a human incubator that had been freed from the hospital. In fact, there was no record of women arriving at the hospital for proper care.